Alright, we're going to start the Unit 7 Trigonometry test review. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is show you the answer key so you can kind of work from that if you like and not listen to me. My feelings will not be hurt. That's okay. Okay, so here's page 1. Pause me for a second so you can get those and then move on. Pause. Here's the other answer key. Pause me. Okay, so you had the 2 pages worth of keys. So going from there, let's look at the first set of problems. Pythagorean theorem. Again, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And of course there's a bell. Why not? Okay, so keep in mind, like you got to realize that when you draw an angle, that right there is going to be your c. So everything else is a and b. So here, when you have a and b, you're going to add them together. So 9 squared plus 17 squared, you get 370. And again, I want y'all to take the square root. I don't want the decimal answer, I want simplified radicals. So my thing would be is to try to go ahead and make sure you do this first, and then, excuse me, kind of go like to get that answer, move on to the next problem, and then come back and see if you can simplify it. This one, here's our c. When you have c, you're going to end up subtracting. So 14 squared minus 11 squared, that will give you 75. Take the square root of that. And if you were to simplify that, you would have 5 square root of 3. Because this would be, let's say, 5, 15, 5, and 3. Okay? So there's that. That's why that's that. I'm going to erase that so I have room for number 4. Number 3, if I were to give you a decimal problem, then yes, you could do it with a decimal. So you can say 8.1 minus 6 squared, 6.8 squared. Ugh, not writing well. Okay, so again, if I do that, 8.1 squared minus the 6.8 squared, I would get 19.37. And then go ahead and actually take the square root, but that's not likely to happen. So when I take the square root of that, excuse me, I would get 4.4. So the answer here is 4.4. Alright, on this one, again, notice that this is 18 squared minus 13 squared. 18 squared minus 13 squared gives me 155. Square root of that. Okay, so the square root of 155 is going to be for both of these here. So notice there's 2, so this is 2 square root of 155. And again, I don't want a decimal answer, that's what I would prefer. I'm not going to worry about the word problems for this one, so we'll go ahead and omit those and just move on. Alright, so again, make sure you know your Pythagorean theorem converse. Also, make sure that you realize that if the two small numbers, add them first, and if they don't equal, or if they're not bigger than this third number, then it's not going to be a triangle. Okay, so make sure you remember that. Again, you can look at the answers for 7, 8, 9, and 10 here, and see how they are. 7 is a right triangle, 8 is acute, and 9 is not a triangle, and 10 is obtuse. Okay, so there's those, and we won't even need to focus on those, but there will be problems about that. Alright, so here we go to the special right triangles. We have x square root of 2. Here we have x square root of 3, and 2 times x. Okay, so make sure you recognize, like on number 11, this is a 45, which means I'm working with this one right here. And so when I do that, this is 5 square root of 2, and that's it. That's all you got to do. Okay, on number 3, or number 12, did I say number 3? Okay, number 3 works with this one, 30, 60, 90. So when I do that, again, notice that if it's 9, this is the short leg to the long leg, and it is times the square root of 3. So this would be 9 square root of 3. To the hypotenuse, it's times 2. So 9 times 2 is 18, and that's it. So when you go from the short leg to the hypotenuse, you're going to multiply by 2. If you go backwards from the hypotenuse to the short leg, you're going to divide by 2. Okay? So make sure you know the difference. Like here, I have a hypotenuse. I'm going to divide and I get 11. And then to go from the short leg to the long leg, 11 square root of 3. Okay, let me jump over to 16 and then I will go over to 14 and 15, which is for the pre-APs only. Okay, here 19 square root of 2, this one's a 45. So if I divide out the square root of 2, because remember it's just times 2, that would leave me with 19 and 19. That's it. Okay, so 14 and 15, a little bit different. On 14, you need to divide by the square root of 2. So you're going to divide by the square root of 2. So can't leave it like that. You rationalize, and then you would get 16 square root of 2 over 2. 16 divided by 2 is 8 square root of 2. And you can see here, maybe you think there's a pattern to that. Oh, there might be. Alright, on this one, this is dividing by the square root of 3 because this is that long leg. So I want to divide 42 by the square root of 3. Ooh, apparently I got mail. Yay. No, never good. Alright, anyways. So I have 42 square root of 3 over 3. I can divide those two, and I would get 14 square root of 3. That would be the short leg. Double that, 28 square root of 3, and you get the long leg. So maybe you see a pattern here. I don't know. But be prepared for, say, those special right triangles. Alright, so now we're getting to trigonometry. Okay, so on trigonometry, make sure you know your sine, cosine, and tangent. I know they talk about that SOHCAHTOA, but no, again, sine, just have it on your formula sheet and you should be okay. So let's look at the problems. Okay, so again, for pre-AP, I might make you find that third side. For CP, you will get the third side, so we'll kind of go from there. Sine, okay, keep in mind, and this is what I did on the review sheet, on the entry key, if you go back and look. I would say here, okay, here's Q, and so this would be the opposite, this would be the adjacent, okay, and that's the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse doesn't change. But if I were to look at, say, R, there's the opposite, and there's the adjacent. So depending on how you do that, that's what you would say, pay attention to. Alright, so sine Q is opposite, which is 30 over 34, the hypotenuse. Adjacent, 16 over 34, and the tangent would be the 30 over 16. Okay, sine would be 16 over 34. Cosine would be 30 over 34. I'm not going to simplify the fractions. I don't want you to simplify the fractions. Just give me the fractions. Okay. Now, again, when I'm working on these types of problems, what I like to do is go, okay, opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. I have numbers, or I have something at the opposite and the adjacent, so then that means I will deal with tan. Tan 54 is equal to, excuse me, tan 54 is equal to the opposite x over 9. When the number is on the bottom, you will multiply. So 9 times tan 54. Type that in the calculator and you should get 12.4. That's a 4. Alright. Opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. I've got opposite and hypotenuse, so I'm going to deal with sine. Sine 46 is equal to 24 over x. If you have the x on the bottom, or the number on top, you're going to divide. Now again, that means you would type in 24 divided by sine 46. Type that into the calculator, press enter, you get 33.4. Okay. Opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. Opposite and adjacent is tan. So tan 27 is equal to 13 over x, and again, you would to divide to get 25.5. Opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. Okay, so that means I'm dealing with cosine 35 degrees is equal to x over 21. Multiply, you should get 17.2. So that's those. Now, what do you do when you've got these? Okay, so you can see here I've already got them set up. But again, opposite, hypotenuse, put the numbers in. When you're looking for the x inside, the degree inside, you're going to do the inverse. So you type that in straight in as it is, and you should get, like here, 73.4 degrees. Type this one in, you should get 37.6 degrees. That's 30 over 39, that's 50.3 degrees. And again, for y'all, at least make sure you understand that you're being able to set this up correctly, and then you should be able to type it in tomorrow on the calculator just fine. Alright, now let's look at elevation and depression. Okay, so with elevation and depression, I will use keywords. I will say angle of elevation, angle of depression, and this is how you can easily, quickly draw it. That's the way I've worked it, and that's the way I usually learn it. Keep in mind, I will talk about a horizontal distance and a vertical distance, maybe a diagonal. Vertical is always going to be the opposite, and horizontal is always going to be the adjacent. So that might be something you can add to your formula sheet. Okay, so here's 26 and 27. And what I did was, okay, so it talks about like Kate sitting, whatever, and it says angle of elevation. So as soon as I read the word angle of elevation, I went ahead and drew out this triangle. I put 24 degrees inside. And I would tell you something like she's sitting horizontally, or she has her horizontal distance from the movie screen is 36 feet. How tall is the vertical distance of the screen? So that way you're kind of tipped off, especially for my CPs, and kind of work it from there. So you can see, and most of these will be tangent. When you have it like that, you got tangent 24 is equal to x over 36. You should multiply, and it should get you about 16 feet as an answer. On this one, I said that the height of something was 555 feet. Angle of elevation was 74 degrees. Find that horizontal distance, and then that means to divide, and you should get 159.1 feet approximately. Okay? And then moving on, 28, you could do like while parasailing, Ryan spots, and again, he's 228 vertically, or he's vertically, like 228 feet vertically above the sea level. Okay, so that way you'll know that the 228, 15 degrees, plug it in, and then you're going to divide, so you get this to be 850.9 feet. And then finally on this one, also divide 4,809.2 feet. This one was a little bit trickier because you had two numbers and you need to subtract those two. I will make sure that doesn't happen on the test because I just want y'all to be able to set it up straightforward and kind of go from there. You can look at number 30 on the answer key. If I do include that, I would put it as a bonus, but it's there, so we'll see about it. Anyways, that should be it for the review. If y'all have questions, well, be prepared. Make sure you make yourself a formula sheet. I have not given y'all a bonus word in a while, so let me go ahead and give y'all a bonus word. What would be a bonus word? Alright, so since there's a district diving championship today, or this week, let's go with champion. So your word to write on top of your thing would be champion. That's for some extra points. Don't forget, if you also, I do expect for y'all to do something with the radicals, but don't waste too much time on that. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Y'all take care.